while the Canadians interview me, the New Zealanders interview me, the US interviews me. And if whoever interviews you, the resettlement country interviews you, they believe that you have a well-founded fear of persecution, then you will be sent to that country and you enter as a refugee. Let's change the scenario. Let's say that I am Ethiopian, and instead of going next door to Kenya, somehow I go directly to New York City. I land at JFK Airport, and I tell the folks at the airport, I am outside of my country of origin. I'm here in New York City, can't you see me? I just landed from Ethiopia. I want protection. And if the authorities in the United States believe you, that you have a well-founded fear of persecution based on your social group, because you're a gay person from Ethiopia, you will get asylum, and your name is asylee. So again, refugee is the term we use when you're outside trying to get in. Asylum seeker is the word that we use when you're here trying to stay here. And just because we're having this webinar in the United States, here in the US, here you see the three branches of government. Congress passes a law, in this case, the Immigration Act, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, in 1980, Congress passed the Refugee Act, which is a subcategory of the Immigration Act. And if you want asylum in the US, you knock on the door of the Immigration Service, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security. And if the Department of Homeland Security, which reports to Obama, does not believe that you have a well-founded fear of persecution because of your social group, because you're lesbian or gay, you sue. You go to the third branch of government and you tell the third branch, the courts, look, I feel that I have a well-founded fear of persecution. I gave lots of testimony to the Department of Homeland Security. They don't believe me. They want to send me back to Azerbaijan or Russia or Brazil or Jamaica because I'm gay. Please listen to my case and give me refuge, give me asylum. And so there you have it. That's sort of, in a nutshell, the definition of a refugee, the three durable solutions. A refugee, someone outside trying to come in, an asylee is already here trying to stay here. And this is the separation of powers in the US. Congress passed the Refugee Act. The middle column is the president executes or implements, but Obama doesn't listen to a million cases. It's the Department of Homeland Security. And if you lose, you go to the courts. The letters that you see there, by the way, in the second column, it is said that people here, depending on the situation, you might have 3 bites of the apple. You could tell your story before an asylum officer, and if you lose, you go before the IJ, an immigration judge, and if you lose, you go to the Board of Immigration Appeals, and if you lose, then you go to the courts. There you have it. Katie, do you want to facilitate any questions or?
Yeah, sure. That was
Julian?
great. Thank you so much. I guess I'll ask first. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask at this time? Anyone have a question? Well, I can start off. We opened up an anonymous Google form where people could submit questions prior to the forum anonymously. So I have one for you.
Sure.
Find it. So what do people do if the occupation, Israel, holds people in captivity and doesn't allow them to leave their own lands?
So, you know, we could have a whole course on the Middle East and on the Israeli-Palestinian issue. But as you saw right here from the definition of a refugee to get protection, you have to be outside of your country of origin. Otherwise, it is the theory is, and this is of course theoretical, that if you're still inside your country of origin, your own country should give you protection. Though the person who sent the question, of course, is telling us that Israel is not giving protection to its own people. And so what can you do if you're held hostage? And the answer is, from a purely legal perspective, you have to flee outside. You have to leave Israel and go somewhere and ask for help, and either go to, a country that might give you asylum, and or a country that might send you to another country. So, for example, if you are in Israel, none of the Middle East countries, by the way, for a number of political reasons, has signed this treaty, the refugee treaty. So if you go to Jordan or Lebanon or Yemen or Saudi Arabia, that's not going to help you much because they're not going to give you asylum. And so you need to get to another country, which is what the Syrians are trying to do. They're going through Hungary as a door, as the gateway into Europe, and then they're lodging their claim for asylum in Germany or Spain or France or wherever they land. So I'm sorry I can't be of more help, but the legal definition of a refugee is you have to be outside of your country of origin. Having said that, let me end here, the United States has sometimes gone into countries of origin and interviewed people in the name of efficiency. So for example, in order to stop so that Vietnamese people don't get on boats and drown, trying to get to Hong Kong, the US government has gone into Vietnam and interviewed people. The US government has gone into Ethiopia and interviewed Ethiopians so that they don't die of thirst or heat in crossing the desert into Kenya. The US government has gone into Cuba and interviewed people who do not agree with Fidel Castro. And strangely enough, Castro has let the Cuban government interview these folks. Maybe it's not that strange because the theory, I mean, from a Cuban perspective, if the United States takes all these crazies off our hands, then we won't have any agitators in Cuba and everything will be peaceful. But back to the question, if you cannot leave your country, it's hard to apply for asylum because you have to go outside because that's the first prong of the definition of a refugee.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Does anyone
I have
else?
a question.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Saeed
is here. I
Saeed
have
is
two
here.
questions. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's so enlightening. It was really great. My first question is there some sort of I know that United States accepts a lot of refugees and asylum seekers, but is there some sort of cap on how many refugees United States can accept every year or asylum seekers, and who determines that cap?
Yeah, good question. So again, for people outside trying to come in, the cap is 70,000 people, and it's divided into the 5 regions of the world. So maybe we'll accept 10 or 15 from that part of the world called Africa, 10 or 15 from that part of the world called Asia, 10 or 15,000 from the Latin America and the Caribbean, and so forth. As a result of the Syrian crisis, by the way, the president said that he's going for next year, for I guess it's fiscal year, not calendar year, 2016, he's going to raise it to 80,000 and make sure that at least 10,000 are reserved for Syrians. As to the second part of your question, who determines that number? It's the president, and sometimes the numbers will change. Like if there's peace in Latin America, the 10,000 allotted for Latin America might shift over to Africa so that we can bring in people from Somalia or Kenya or whatever. But the U.S. Department of State, John Kerry, sends in all the embassies send information to the U.S. Department of State in D.C., and they say, you know, it's a hot mess here in, I don't know, in China, or it's a hot mess in the northern part of Africa. We desperately need to raise the number of refugees to help and take to Philadelphia or North Dakota or Louisiana. So maybe a Latin American number will be shifted to the African number. So maybe next year we'll only bring in 5,000 people from Latin America, but maybe 20,000 people from the Middle East. So the 10,000 extra that Obama said he would give us, and the normal 10,000 that is reserved for that part of the world called the Middle East. So there is a cap for people coming in, that's 70,000, and is determined by the president. If you are already physically here, there's no cap. We have no control over who comes here. So if you come here from China to get a PhD at Penn, and then something happens in China and you're afraid to go back, you can apply for asylum in the US, and there is no cap if you're already in the US. But if you're outside trying to come in, there's a cap, and it's based on the parts of the world.
Thank you. I have one more question.
Sure.
Question is related to traveling and where if refugee or asylum seeker would like to travel. Let's say a refugee was granted or asylum seeker was granted an asylum in the United States.
Yep.
And he needs to travel abroad because I know it takes like 5 or 7 years for asylum seekers to get their citizenship. What is the procedure for, because if they got their asylum or refugee status, they're no longer citizen of that country. And
well, actually, yes, actually they are.
Oh, okay.
So if you enter the U.S. as a refugee, or you get asylum in the United States, there is such a thing, and you can Google it. You can go to USCIS.gov. USCIS stands for United States Immigration and Citizenship Service, USCIS, and then you click on the forms link, and then you can download the refugee travel document. After a year, though, after being a year in the United States as a refugee or as an asylee, you then apply to become a lawful permanent resident, what some people on the streets call getting your green card. And then in 5 years, so first you're a refugee for a year, then you're a lawful permanent resident for 4 years, and then in year number 5, you can apply to become a United States citizen. While you are a refugee or an asylee, or while you are a lawful permanent resident of the U.S., that is, you have your green card in your wallet, you are still technically a citizen of your country of origin. And if you are afraid to go to the embassy of Ethiopia, for example, to apply for your passport, because after all, didn't you just say last year that you're afraid of going back to Ethiopia? If you're afraid to travel to get an Ethiopian passport to renew it, there is a document called an advanced parole travel document, and that is immigration form I-131 that you download and that you would apply for. So the bottom line is, if you're a refugee or an asylee, there is such a thing as the United States refugee travel document. But after you stop being a refugee or asylee for 1 year, you can apply for something called advanced parole travel document. But otherwise, and then you would travel on the passport of your country of origin. That is, if your country of origin doesn't mind issuing you one, even though you applied for asylum from their country. So that can get a little hairy, and that's why we have this other document called the travel document.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to check one thing. Is Jack on the line? Jack? No? Okay, we can keep going then. Does anyone have any last questions for Fernando before he has to go? Any last?
If nobody has a question, I have another question.
Okay, so you keep going. Keep going.
I'll send you my bill later, Syed.
I want to make sure that we're covering all
go.
of the subject. And my question is related to as an expert in refugee law, what do you think are some specific challenges specifically to LGBT asylum seekers compared to other categories of asylum seekers in the United States?
Sure, that's an easy one. Well, one is trying to prove to the government, and that third column that I showed you, either an asylum officer or an immigration judge or the Bureau of Immigration Appeals, that you're actually LGBT. So how do you show that? So some, so there might be stereotypes, but sometimes there are no stereotypes. So if you say I have a well-founded fear of persecution if you send me back to Jamaica because I'm gay, like, how do you prove that you're gay? So sometimes the only evidence that the applicant has is his own words. And there's cases like, I have a well-founded fear of persecution if you send me back to Russia. I'm a lesbian, and please don't send me back. So how would she prove that she really is a lesbian? So that's one problem. It's the proof part. How do you prove that you're really lesbian or gay? So that's one part. The second part is proving that you're going to be persecuted if you're sent back. And the third problem is only specific as to what we would typically think are gay-friendly countries. And so the one that I'm thinking of is Brazil. So during Mardi Gras, if you go to Mardi Gras in Brazil, they have big parades down the street, big gay floats and gay and lesbian floats as part of the parades. And yet people are persecuted. So there are cases in the U.S. where people have said I have a well-founded fear of persecution based on my social group. My social group is I'm a gay man from Brazil. Don't send me back. And then the U.S. government did its research, and they said, well, I don't believe you. In fact, isn't during Mardi Gras a carnival time? Isn't that a big mecca for gay people? And then you're going to have to prove that maybe it is in the big city, but where I come from in my little village, I've already been, people have thrown stones at me. I can't find a job. My own parents threw me out of the house. And so those are some of the challenges that LGBT folks have in applying for asylum. And on the first point, how do you prove you're gay? Many people don't have no one can testify on their behalf because actually you were in the closet in Uganda, because if you were stupid enough to come out, you'd be killed. And so, they've got you coming and going. So when you say, I'm gay, and they say, well, prove it to me, at least, can someone testify on your behalf that they saw you at the gay club? You're going to respond, well, first of all, there are no gay clubs in Uganda. Secondly, I couldn't be out when I was there. So those are some of the challenges, just the proof, the evidence part in proving your claim.
Great. Thank you so much. That was very thorough. And I know I appreciated that presentation a lot. I see it's 9:29, so I know you have to go at 9:30.
Yep.
Unless you have any just last comments you think we should know. But again, thank you so much from everyone for your time.
Yeah, no, my only comment is thank you for doing this.
Of course.
Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedules to try to help, some of the most vulnerable people who need help. So anything you can do I appreciate it from a personal and professional perspective.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
And anytime you want to schedule another webinar with some other issues, just let me know and we'll try to do another one. So thank you all again.
We will. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a brief update for everyone. So our second guest speaker is running a little bit late. Jack, she's actually a former LGBT asylum seeker, so she's definitely willing, and she's definitely worth staying around for. But right now, I thought that I see a lot of AsylumConnect team members on the line, so I was wondering if everyone wanted, to say their name and position to the people that aren't from AsylumConnect. So again, I'm Katie. I'm the co-founder and co-director. Saeed, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi.
Briefly.
Can you see me, guys?
No. Yeah.
Oh, hi. Hello. I'm wearing a very bright yellow t-shirt.
You dressed up for it.
But I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone being here today. And also kind of like a post presentation. If anyone who's online but and has a lot of questions but don't feel comfortable asking them in that space, because you might be calling us from those countries where you've been persecuted, or you don't, because I remember living in Kyrgyzstan, and whenever I would tune in online or webinars to like LGBT related conference, I wouldn't able to talk because it was very scary. So I just want to reaffirm you that you can guys email to us and ask your questions, and we would be definitely willing to respond you right away.
Yeah,
but again, my name is Saeed, and I'm also a co-founder and co-director.
Hi, my name is Emma. I am the director of catalog for AsylumConnect. And
hey, I'm Tiffany. I'm the director of user experience and software development. Wanted to introduce ourselves because we're about to be kicked out of the cafe that we're in right now.
Yeah, so just to say hi before we have to sign off.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Rose, do you want to go?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rose. I'm the social media manager.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're excited to see your face.
Yeah, I finally get to see it.
I know Alex. Alex, do you want to?
I'm here. I'm Alex Lucci. I'm the secretary.
Alex?
Sorry, I haven't responded to your emails.
That's okay.
Just keep the drama at bay, Rose. Is there anyone else? I don't see anyone else. Is Itala?
Yeah, we also have Itala Alves
On the phone?
He joined on the phone, but he doesn't know how to.
Well, Italo
how to use
is
the
our
mic.
director of policy and research, and he's great. So.
But I got a message from you.
Okay, I'm sure it says hi, right? So, okay.
I can introduce myself as well. Do you want everyone on the call introduced?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm not sure, is my video on right now?
I don't see video, but I can hear you, so that's what's most important.
Okay. My name is Julian Maynard. I'm in Boston. I'm a youth worker. I run youth programs and camp director.
Oh, great.
Hey all. So I was introduced a while ago. I've attended 3 Millennium Campus conferences. And my background is in peace and justice issues at the Cambridge Peace Commission, as well as I'm steering committee at the South End Lower Roxbury Youth Workers Alliance here in Boston. And I've worked in programs and camps, youth camps around mainly the Western world, but around the world. And I'm just really interested in learning more about what you all are committing to, and I guess how I can help facilitate that through my own network.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for setting it up and welcoming me.
Does anyone else want to introduce themselves at this moment? Anyone else? It's up to you.
Sure. I'll just say a quick hello. I'm Julene, the campaigns coordinator at MCN. I'm just helping run the logistics for this forum. And if this is okay, I'd love to just give a little spiel about how we can make the audio and visual run a little bit more smoothly during this forum. So what works really well to minimize audio feedback is to have everyone mute themselves when they're not speaking. That way we can hear the speaker more clearly. And also, we love seeing where everyone's calling from. So if you could open up your group chat and just write your name and where you're calling from, your email, any other information you want to share, your majors. And I would suggest keeping an eye on the group chat, because some people have very interesting comments that they share in this group chat. And of course, you're welcome to message me directly if you're having any technical issues or if you just have any questions in general. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this forum.
I can introduce myself too, since I'm the last one. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. So my name is Raina Fox. I am the programs manager at Millennium Campus Network, and I would be happy to give a little spiel about MCN and about the campaigns whenever it's appropriate. But for now, I'm just really excited that you're all here. I'm really excited to be a part of this forum, and it's been really fascinating so far. This project is so important, and I'm really thrilled to see your faces and all the people who are a part of this conversation. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And actually, Raina, if you want to go now, since I think Jack's actually calling in like 10 minutes. So if you want to give your spiel about MCN right now, might work best.
Sure. Okay, I'll give a spiel about MCN now. So for those of you who are not familiar with Millennium Campus Network, I'll just give a little background. So Millennium Campus Network is a nonprofit based in Boston, Massachusetts. And we were founded about 10 years ago by a college student in his dorm room. He was doing work on his campus, which was Brandeis, related to international development, collecting money for wells. And he was thinking, I'm doing this work on my campus, but I know that people are doing this in other spaces, and it'd be great if we could connect across the campuses to learn from each other and share best practices. So at the beginning, it was just about connecting people, but now we do a lot more than that. We work with students all over the world, and our mission has really expanded. So there are 3 components of our vision. The first part is to support students in rethinking the paradigms that perpetuate inequality in global development work, including how our social identities affect our work. And this campaign is very much connected with that particular point in terms of supporting new ways of thinking about how we can do global development work that are based on partnerships and taking into account our social identities. The second is promoting a human-centric approach to global development, which is based on authentic community-led partnerships. So asking people what they need, and then supporting people in the ways that make sense for them, instead of coming in from the outside and saying, here's what you should do. And then moving from dialogue to action. And we have 3 programs through which we do that. The first is the Millennium Campus Conference. It sounds like some of you have been to the conference. So the Millennium Campus Conference, we had our 7th one this year, and it was at the UN in New York City. We had over 450 student leaders from over 50 countries come together to share best practices, to reflect on the work that they're doing, to learn from leaders in the field, be connected to potential opportunities in terms of work or grad school, etc. And so that's one of our programs. Another is something called the Millennium Fellowship, which is a year-long fellowship for people to really strengthen their leadership skills and also their student organizations. So these are students doing work on their campuses related to international development. Maybe they're part of a UNICEF club or something like that. And then third are the global campaigns. So this is a new thing we've never done before this year, but we had over 400 students submit ideas that we had to try and make some sort of change related to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And from those, we chose 5 that were in 5 different categories. The peace, gender equality, youth, oceans, and health. So throughout this year, we will be doing a series of forums, of which you are already a part of one. And so Katie, as you know, is one of our campaign winners. AsylumConnect is one of the campaigns that we are supporting throughout this year, and we're just so thrilled that this is happening and that we can be a resource if at all possible, because really it's the ideas that people like you are having that will make a change. And I think when we build a movement by bringing people from a lot of different communities together, that's how you really do move the needle and make change. So I hope that you'll all think about ways that you can continue to move your own communities to make change around the things that you care about, and perhaps that is this, hopefully that is this, maybe it's something else. And we hopefully at UPN will also be a resource. It's a pleasure for us and an honor for us to be supporting the campaigns such as this one, such as Asylum, over this year. So yeah, so that's my spiel. Feel free to email me at rfox@mcnpartners.org if you are interested in learning more, or if you're interested in thinking about a campaign for next year, or if you're interested in our other programs. But yeah, I'm available. And then Julene, who you just met, is also part of the MCN staff. She is our campaigns coordinator, so she specifically focuses on the campaigns. So
great. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Reina. And from AsylumConnect, Millennium Campus Network has been integral in AsylumConnect's growth, and we really appreciate them taking the time to help us. So thank you. So I think we have like 5 minutes until our next guest speaker. So I guess I can just like do an overview of what I was thinking for the next like part of the time. So I thought Jack would go. Again, she's like the first lesbian from Mexico ever to receive asylum in the U.S. And she's also one of AsylumConnect's advisors. And she currently works as an LGBTQ immigrant refugee specialist at Seattle Counseling Service. So we're very excited to have her, and I'm sure she'll have a lot to say. And then after that, I think I'm going to let people ask her questions. Again, like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to ask someone like that any burning questions that you have. And then I was going to open it up to discussion about global refugee crisis, and then give an overview of AsylumConnect, just like a brief presentation of what we do, who we are, and maybe how everyone else can get involved. Does anyone have any questions about that at the time? No? Okay. Well, again, we only have like 4 minutes until she gets here, I think. So I mean, I can start talking about AsylumConnect, maybe start giving my like PowerPoint. I don't know. All right, let's just do that. So I'm going to share my screen, hopefully. Can you all see it? Can you guys see it now? You see it? Okay. Okay, I was going to go. So while we're waiting for Jack, I guess I'll just start talking about AsylumConnect. So again, I'm the co-founder, co-director. My name is Katie, and we're AsylumConnect. Our goal is to build life-saving online informational resources for LGBTQ asylum seekers in the U.S. It's co-founded by myself and Saeed, who's also on the call. And then you can see our website right there, www.asylumconnect.org. A lot of the information that I'm going to go into is also on our website, so definitely check that out. The Basics, again, was co-founded by Saeed and myself when we were both seniors at Penn, or rising seniors at Penn in July 2014. Our mission, we're a volunteer initiative that will seek to provide LGBTQ asylum seekers in the U.S. with life-saving online informational resources. Our vision is to assist LGBTQ asylum seekers in locating and obtaining life-saving resources, and our project is currently estimated to benefit 300,000 LGBT asylum seekers. And here's a graphic, what you need to know. So this is actually also available on our website. I think it's helpful for people who aren't aware of any of the terms or haven't heard of an LGBT asylum seeker before. Just some numbers to point out. So currently, again, there's 300,000 estimated LGBT asylum seekers in the United States. 2.79 billion people live in countries where it's still illegal to be gay. And other numbers, 3% of funding, only 3% of funding for LGBTQ immigrants and asylum seekers is currently being used for direct services, which is obviously a very, very low number. If anyone has questions about the infographic, I'd love to answer them. If not, keep going. Okay, so our team, so as you heard, some of our team was on this call, and we're currently a team of 11 passionate individuals. We're all under age 25, so we think that the MCN campaign is a really good platform for us, being all student-run. We also have advisors. So you heard from Fernando Chang Moy, who's one of our advisors, as well as Jack Larenzar, who's going to be joining us and one of our guest speakers. And then our third advisor is also Subi Naha. He actually shared his story with Ambassador Samantha Power and others at the first ever UN Security Council on LGBT rights. He's a former Syrian gay refugee, so we're definitely very excited to have him on board as well. And so through our research, me and Saeed really, we realized that AsylumConnect initiative is both necessary and novel. We did a thorough needs assessment where we realized that despite having access to technology during the asylum seeking process, LGBTQ asylum seekers still actually lack adequate information to meet their basic human needs in the US. So our goal was really to address that. So we identified there may need to be a user-friendly, centralized database of resources. I do see there's one other phone on the line. Jack, are you on the line? No? Okay, we're gonna keep going. So our main product right now is the AsylumConnect Catalog. So again, we found the need to be a centralized database of resources. So so Saeed and myself decided to build it. So we're building the first website and mobile app to feature an online centralized database of service providers both to LGBT asylum seekers in the United States. We're currently piloting our catalog model in Seattle, Washington. And our catalog currently includes social, medical, legal, counseling, and other services, including computer labs, public libraries, free internet access, stuff like that. Again, our catalog is on our website. Feel free to check it out. And the purpose of our catalog is really to help persecuted LGBT people find basic human needs resources upon their arrival in the United States. So our short-term vision, again, we've decided to pilot in Seattle, Washington. So we're really focused our efforts on producing a high-quality pilot city, and then we're going to do a corresponding case study. And we're very excited, so we're planning a relaunch of the AsylumConnect Catalog 2.0 in January of 2016. And so we're actually planning to launch a new, more interactive database. And then it'll include new functions, including a search function, an integrated feedback loop, so we can have advice from beneficiaries, make sure our product is actually useful, a Google Maps function, translation capacity, and a corresponding mobile app. So that's our short-term vision. We're very excited. In terms of long-term vision, we're really looking to scale to additional cities, as well as actually additional vulnerable populations in the United States. And I can go into that more often or later if you guys have certain questions. But now the important part, how you can help. So again, in partnership with the Millennium Campus Network, we launched our Global Peace Campaign at the UN in August of 2015. We'd love everyone on this call to join us. We definitely need much help as possible. So how can you help? So the first way you can help is to be an assigned contributor for the catalog. So if you sign up for this, you would be assigned a U.S. city that you're in charge of collecting resources for, and then you'd be given data collection materials and expected to contribute a minimum of 10 resources per week. And then our team will verify those resources before actually publishing them in the catalog. And these resources will become extremely helpful when we do begin to scale to additional cities. Is Jack online? So you just Jack? No?
Yeah, I think she's online.
Yeah, I know. You messaged me. I got it.
Okay.
Jack, can you hear me? Saeed, why do you think she's online?
Okay, sorry. I think that she's having trouble hearing.
Okay.
So right now I'm messaging her to leave the meeting and rejoin and hopefully connect through the computer audio.
Mm-hmm. In terms of sharing my screen, how do I get out of it? Oh, stop share. Okay. Okay, so we'll wait for her, and we'll continue that after. Does anyone have any questions about what I just said? I know a lot of you guys are team members, so.
Well, maybe you can finish very quick before while she joins in, or you have a lot of slides left.
There's a bunch left. I feel like it might be, because she's gonna call right now.
Is that you? Are you already on? It looks like she might be on.
I'm not sure. Very confusing.
Jack, if you can hear us, can you wave so we can see you?
I messaged her and she says that she can't hear, which is interesting. So
why don't we have her call in? Can you share the phone number?
No visual either.
I can kind of hear her.
So I think I'll just have her. Okay, so
I don't know. I thought I heard something. But I can't.
Yeah.
Julian, I think that she's the Samsung one.
Yeah.
So if you can unmute her, maybe she can speak.
Technical difficulties. Jack, can you hear us?
I'll give the phone number in case that works better.
It is showing that she's muted.
Hello? I keep trying to unmute her, but it keeps muting.
Hello?
Okay, I'm not sure.
I can hear her.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Yes. I heard her.
Yeah. So it keeps muting her, which is very strange. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can everyone else hear her?
Yes, I just heard you.
So Jack, maybe the video's not working, but if you want to just go anyway, if that's okay.
That's good.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No problem.
But this is Jack, everyone. She's one of AsylumConnect's advisors. We're very lucky to have her, and she's actually going to talk to you a little bit about her own experience seeking asylum in the United States. So Jack, if you want to take it away.
Sure. So hello, everybody. Well, so I'm in Seattle, and I applied for political asylum in the 90s. In 1997, I became the first lesbian to win asylum from Mexico. And the whole process took me about 3 years. And that was mainly because when I started to talk to attorneys about my case and what had happened to me, a lot of them didn't know, one, that there was a law that had been passed in 1994 that from then on started protecting LGBTQ people. And two, the other problem was that they really didn't have the tools or the resources to work with a person like me that had survived torture and had gone through different stages of state condoned violence. So I started working with organizations here in Seattle to do some education around what the things that other people like me were experiencing, but also to start developing resources for others like me. So I realized that I was pretty lucky. I spoke English. I had a pretty good education, and things were very hard for me. Others that didn't have those things were having even a harder time that I had. So from that moment on, I started working with a number of organizations here, the West Immigrants' Rights Project, and we created a group that focused on LGBT asylum. Created a bunch of resources, support groups, talks, conferences, lots of different things. And so now, but what it's been like 20 years later, Seattle is one of the leading cities on not only LGBTQ law, but also resources. I don't know if you guys want to ask me questions, and I can share with you more that way.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. That's very interesting.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions for Jack? Or, I mean, I have questions if no one does. Anyone? Okay, I can ask the first question.
I have one.
Oh, you have one. Okay, go for it.
I was just wondering, Jack, thanks for being on the call. It's an inspiration to be able to talk to you directly. I was wondering, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
So 1997, you said the process of applying for asylum took 3 years. In this current day, how has it evolved around that process? What would someone currently seeking asylum be going through in this day? And what is the national experience any different? But also, particularly now in your own environment in Seattle, also what your work there in Seattle is inspiring or tapping into in terms of collaboration or trying to lead other efforts, trigger other efforts around the U.S., whether it be state-led or other.
Okay. Well, firstly, I'll talk first about the process. It's a complicated answer because to apply for asylum, you have to be very clear about a couple of things before you do it. One is that you are never going to be able to go back to your country. And two is that you have to be out or have some outness in your life, because some of the things that they ask you at the interview and through the in the application are very personal. And so, for example, in my case, I talked to an attorney 1 year before he submitted the application, and I had to think a lot about what me telling the story and applying was going to mean for people who were connected to me in Mexico, and also for the work that other activists are doing in Mexico. So it's not an easy decision, and then there's a lot of fear about being, telling the people who were persecuting you where you are. So I would say that that hasn't changed much. I've talked to people from all over the world, from Russia to Uganda, other people from Latin America, Europe, and they all have the same fears that I had when I first applied. Some of them actually decide not to apply for asylum because they don't want to lose the connection with their friends or some of the family that supports them, the lucky ones that have family that supports them. But in the legal side, the other problem is that attorneys need to gather evidence to prove your case. They need to show that you are being persecuted and that people are looking for you by name and by face, and that the state either doesn't have the means to protect you or will not protect you. And that can take many months, depending on how easily accessible the documentation for that particular country is. So I would say it's still about 6 months to a year to submit your application, and then it just depends on how many cases immigration has, how quick they're able to move them. I just heard, I don't know if you guys heard this on NPR, but there is a bunch of people from Iraq that has been on hold to get their refugee status for years now. And these are people that actually help the United States. A lot of them are interpreters, and they haven't been able to get their visas. So stuff like that can also take a long time. And there's nothing that you can do. You can't really do much to move the process along faster. Around the inspiration, right now I'm working on a great project, which it's gathering information about LGBTQ, immigrant, refugees, asylees, and undocumented people in Seattle. And we are trying to figure out what kinds of behavioral health needs they have, because a lot of them, like me, have suffer bullying or hate crimes, torture, a lot of family violence for many years. And so when you get here, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you don't have the networks that you had for support in whatever country you came from. And so a lot of them start having mental health issues very quickly, or some start using alcohol or drugs. And the agency that I work with now has the means to provide some services for folks that don't have medical insurance or papers. So we are just conducting research to see what can be done. And in the process of doing that, a lot of organizations that work with refugees, with immigrants, are realizing that they need training. So right now I'm putting together a training for providers, mental health providers, so they can understand better the problematic of being a refugee, of being a person looking for asylum, of being somebody who's LGBTQ and is living without papers in the United States. And here we call them undocuqueer, which is a term that has become very popular with the 20-something crowd here in Seattle. They have a whole group that does advocacy work around immigration and access to education and other things. And I work very closely with them. And so that to me is also very inspiring. These young people that, you know, they're not afraid about coming out as undocumented and as queer, and they want to do something with their life, and they want to improve not only their life, but the lives of their families and the people in their community. So that's very inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Great.
Sure.
I think that was a very thorough answer, and hopefully that answered the question. Does anyone else have any other questions for Jack at this time? Anyone? No? Okay, well, I can give one of my questions. You kind of already answered it, but I can, I was wondering if you could pick one thing that you wish more service providers striving to help LGBT asylum seekers in the U.S. could do better, what would it be? Would it be the mental health component that you've been talking about, or would it be something else? Or
Yeah, I think there is a huge need for free services for people because you know, like you were saying in your presentation, Kathy, a lot of folks when they get here, they can access services, and for a time, you know, you're not as in the same in the same spectrum of access as a refugee or somebody who has documents. And so if you just get here and you're seeking asylum and you have, you're a survivor of violence or torture, all those things weigh really heavily on you. That will be successful. Some people that I've talked to say that they don't want to talk about those things because it's very painful. They left that behind and they're going to leave it there. And so for some of them, talking about this stuff again is a way of going back or kind of reconnecting to that. And I think it will be a lot better if people had mental health support as they go through the process. And the therapist could actually help them to kind of piece together the story, help them to make sense of things that happened to them, and kind of give them some perspective about how violence is not normal and how particularly homophobic acts of violence against you because you are a member of an LGBT group is not normal, regardless of what culture you come from or what country you come from. And I think I've talked to 22 people from different countries that have told me basically that if they knew that they had access to free counseling services or support, they will use them. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful. I mean, as AsylumConnect, as you know, we're trying to, you know, give people more access or more information so that they know what services are available to them. So, but I think Rose actually has a question. Rose, do you have you have to unmute yourself, Rose.
Okay, I got it. So my question is essentially, if you're granted asylum in the U.S., do you then have to like remain, I guess, very like much out while you're in the U.S. and kind of prove that you are part of the LGBTQ community, or will you then be deported?
Well, it's tricky because see, one of the things that you have to show when you apply for asylum is that you're being prosecuted, right? And so, for example, I talked to a guy from Africa who was in detention. He told me he was bisexual and he was not out in Africa. He's from Uganda, right? And so the attorney he was talking to told him that he could not apply for asylum because he was not out in Uganda and he had never done any activism. But the truth is, and this is what I kind of try to explain to his attorney, is that if you are openly gay in Uganda, you are arrested and killed. So if you are gay, you will go to any means possible and necessary to not be perceived as gay, because then your life will be in danger. And even activists, because I've met many, they might have like a double life where you do activism kind of underground and you work with others in the LGBT community in ways that you know, are efficient but not put you in danger. And I mean, I've been part of many conversations where activists have to decide how far do they want to go in their visibility, because that is going to mean either that they're going to be in prison, or that their lives are going to be at risk, or their families' lives are going to be at risk. So you can't put everybody in that position. It's a very personal decision. And so folks need to have those conversations. And when you're here in the United States and you live in a place where pretty much, if you live in an urban city, you can be out and you can have a pretty normal life these days. We tend to forget how it is to be in a country where just being perceived as gay might be dangerous to you. And so sometimes, you know, when attorneys are making questions, so they're not experienced and they don't know what the country conditions are, they can overlook things that, in fact, will be helpful for an asylum application. And I've talked to attorneys that said to people, well, if you want to apply for asylum, you need to be more out and you be more involved in activism in your country, and you need to be able to show me that that you're doing something for gay rights, right? And so then people start getting involved in things that they're not ready to take on, and they might be put in danger. And when they are, then, you know, they talk to the attorneys over here and they're like, well, I can't do anything for you because you are not here. And so it's kind of like a double cycle. And so, well, to summarize, I don't think you need to be out, but you need to be able to show that you are somehow involved in some sort of LGBT activity that will put you in danger. And depending on the country and on the country conditions, that can mean many different things, but that's the kind of savvy that you need to find in an attorney to be able to present a successful case.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great. Does anyone else have a question for Jack? Any other burning questions? No? Well, I mean, that was very thorough. And again, we appreciate you being so open about your own experience. I think it's very eye-opening for a lot of us, as you said, just living in the United States. So do you have any last-minute thoughts, Jack, or things that you'd like to leave us with about your experience, things that you think people should know?
Well, yeah, you know, I just had today this amazing conversation with a transgender woman from Somalia. I mean, she was telling me that even though she was, you know, bullied since she was a child, all the way through, she's now in her early 20s, and she was able to get here because it helped her to get out. But she said that one of the things that she would like people to understand about the experiences that we have is that we're very resilient. And so when people treat us with, like, you know, with gloves because they think that we're fragile, it's actually not good for us, because we need to be acknowledged as the strong people that we are, and we need to know that we're allies. So she told me that the most helpful thing that somebody ever told her was that she was not alone, and that she was seen for all the hard struggles and horrible things that have happened to her, but how that had made her a beautiful human being. And to me, it was like, wow, yes. If anybody could come in touch with folks like us who are seeking freedom and who are seeking just the space to be, and find an ally who actually can help us create that space just so we can be and find who we are, that will be the greatest gift that anybody can give us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely what AsylumConnect is trying to do. Give kind of the safe space and let people, help themselves with the information that we're hopefully going to provide for them. But thank you so much for sharing that story. That was very inspiring and impactful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and thank you for all the work you're doing, Kathy. It's really been, every time I talk to folks about it here, they're so happy that somebody's finally doing this.
Yeah. And thank you again. Yeah, thank you so much for helping us spread the word in Seattle. And you and I will definitely talk soon
Right.
about our pilot. But
excellent.
but I can let you go now, unless anyone else has any questions, and just return to the presentation, if that's okay with everyone. Sound good? Okay. Well, thank you again so much, Jack.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for listening, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Okay, I'm just gonna find my PowerPoint one more time. Okay. Can everyone see it? Everyone see it? Yeah? See it? You can see it? Okay. So I think I was at the assigned contributors for the catalog before. So just going off of that again, as you know, the AsylumConnect Catalog, we're building basically resource databases by city. So right now, starting with Seattle, where Jack is from, she's helping us do that with the localized knowledge, and then really shooting for, I think, next Philadelphia, New York City, San Francisco, DC. So we're looking for key sources before we verify them as a team. And our director of catalog, who was actually on this call before, had to leave, but her name is Emma. Again, she's the director of catalog, and you can see her email at the bottom of your screen. If you're interested in this opportunity, if you could email her, you can email me, and we can get you those collection materials. Another way is to help us is you can actually translate for us. So most of us speak English. We do have a few team members that speak other languages, but it's also helpful to get as many languages as possible. So if you do speak a different language, we'd love to have you kind of on our translator list. And what would happen is I would email you on an as-needed basis to translate everything from infographics to chapter materials to stuff on our website. And if you have any ideas of what you think maybe would be helpful to me in a different language, we'd love to hear them. Again, you can email myself, you can talk to me right now. It's up to you. And then social media, helping us raise awareness. As Jack mentioned, most people don't know about LGBT asylum seekers in the US, so it's actually very important and a LinkedIn page, an Instagram account that's coming soon, so very excited. And then also Huffington Post, kind of, we publish some articles. You can read an article about